This is the Wise Guy Radio Show, a podcast dedicated to educating and inspiring through conversations with today's top talents in the world of glass. We will be dissecting their journeys in hopes to deliver actionable content that you, the artist, can start implementing now, helping you grow not only as a creative spirit, but also a successful artistic entrepreneur. With a little organization, relationship building, and your artistic ability, you can obtain greatness. Climb aboard, whether an artist, retail owner, or enthusiast. We have a ton of fun in store for you. Welcome to the Wise Guy Radio Show.
You're listening to the Wise Guy Radio Show.
Hey, what the hell's going on? Welcome to the Wise Guy Radio Show, episode number 172. This is your host, Jason Michael, and thank you so much for tuning in today. Today's interview is featuring Patrick Charles, a.k.a. Keepsake Glass. You can find him all over the social feeds and Instagram at Keepsake Glass. And he has been in this field and community blown glass for the last 4 years, has a really interesting story, and it was fun to hear him talk about his journey starting off working for a production facility to where he is now, and is finding success in his work and just in life in general. It's a pretty awesome conversation, and it's fun to see someone who's in his 20s and also a young glass artist that's really taken the whole concept and philosophy of understanding the path that has been paved in a sense ahead of him by those who made the ways, and the respect and honor that he has for them, and the understanding that it isn't an easy thing just to pick up a torch and glass and learn how to make things. It takes a lot of work and dedication, and he's definitely done that and proven himself not only by this conversation we had, but also if you go on his Instagram and you see his work is top-notch, and it's really, really, really well done stuff. He's currently in one of the competitors right now in the Tournament of Fire that's going on, the third series this year we're in. Right now, as I'm recording this, we're all waiting. I've got about another 45 minutes till the voting for round one starts, and myself, I'm very anxious to find out, and I'm actually second-guessing what I made and all that shit. The whole imposter syndrome is kicking in, and I know all of us in this group that are chatting, we're all saying the same fucking thing. There's 16 incredible artists in there, and I'm going to put myself in there because I think I'm pretty good at what I do. And it's just fun to see, the first round was making a chillum, and to see the different perspectives of what all the artists brought to the table. There's some pretty amazing stuff on there. So if you want to go check out the fun, check out the Tournament of Fire itself on Instagram. It's at tournament_of_fire. I'll have the link in the show notes for you as well. And also go check out the kids over at Cherry Glass that are putting this on for us. It's a really interesting concept, and look forward to working with these guys in future tournaments as we begin to really get this out to the masses and really conceptualize even more so what they have going on here, if that makes any sense. So we want to bring it to a bigger audience, basically, is what I'm trying to say. So yeah, just real quick too, don't forget that the Flow magazine is offering all you out there that have not yet subscribed to their magazine 10% off. All you have to do is go and put in the code WISEGUY at checkout, WYZGUY at checkout. I don't get anything extra out of it, but they get a little bit of love from you by being a subscriber, and you get 10% off for subscribing and being a listener to the audience, as they are one of our sponsors. And Mountain Glass has all their wonderful, fun sales going on constantly. Got something new in the mail. So go check out mountainglass.com for all the fun things going on there in Mountain Glass. And then we have Glassroots Art Show coming up soon. They are out there up in Madison, Wisconsin, getting prepared for the show in October, which I can't wait to go and see all the faces and then all the glass that's being revealed and everything. It's just, I'm excited to be there this year, which will be my first official trade show. And I know last year I said the same fucking thing, and things just didn't happen. Life got crazy. And this year I've already got the time off work. I've got a wedding to go to in Kentucky, and on the way up there, going to be stopping in Kentucky from Florida, and then going from Florida up into Madison and bringing my daughter along with me. She's going to be my assistant, and as she's my project manager right now for the online courses going on, and she's going to help me do filming and video and get everybody, basically be my handler for the artists to come in and do interviews in person. And that being said, if you are going to Glassroots and you would like to get on the show, I'm going to be holding interviews for 2 days. We have a green room set aside for me that's soundproof. We'll have, make sure there's red M&Ms in there for you, because I know all you little divas out there, you got to have one color M&M in a bowl. And actually, it's kind of a side story. I don't know if you know the origins of that whole green M&M bullshit. But I believe it was... I'm having a brain fart here. Alice Cooper. There you go. Alice Cooper, I believe, is who this was. He was one of the first people out there in the world of rock and roll to require that the place he would go to, the arenas, the event location, whatever, had a bowl of green M&Ms. And the reason he did that was he felt that if those that were putting on his show, his stagehands, the place itself he was going to, he knew if they had their shit together and paid attention to detail, because he had pyrotechnics and all that stuff going on in his show that had to get set up properly and safely, details, that if they had a bowl of green M&Ms waiting for him, that they knew that they were detail-oriented and that he didn't have to worry about going there and potentially blowing up the stage. It's kind of a fun little side thing, and that's just turned into a whole diva conversation. But we're all divas, I guess, at heart when it comes down to it. So that being said, I'm going to be there doing interviews. I'm going to do some video work as well, and I'm really excited about the whole concept and situation, what we got planned for it. So stay tuned as we get closer to October for updates and what have you. But if you would like to get into on the show and do an interview with me, you can hit me up at wiseguymedia@gmail.com, WYZGUY media@gmail.com. I'll have a little link in the show notes, as always, to get a hold of me there. And if you have any questions, comments, concerns, complaints, ideas, concepts for the show, anything like that, definitely feel free to contact me on that email. I definitely enjoy getting emails from you, and I've been getting a lot over the last months from support and love and everything else. And I'm going to end this giveaway I'm doing for our little thank you bribe for going on and either leaving a review on iTunes or posting your favorite episode on Instagram and sharing it with your friends. If you do the iTunes review and you are able to do that for me, all you got to do is take a screenshot of your review, send me an email with the screenshot as well as your shipping information, and I'll get your pendant out to you, as well as like a little sticker pack I put together. And then on the social media side of things, on Instagram, if you just do a screenshot of your favorite episode that you're listening to, and then tag at wiseguy_radio on the thing there. You can tag at @JMichaelGlass in there too if you want. And then send me a DM as well with your shipping information, and I'll make sure I get that pendant out to you as a big thank you for sharing the love and getting exposure to the show. Because really what I'm trying to do is just expose our community and how amazing we all are, and this awesome group of thousands of us, if not millions of us now, as we continue to grow daily, internationally wise. So I love it. Yeah. So that being said, I'm going to get out of here. Time to get another interview going. We have a lot of amazing talent coming on this show, which I'm super honored to have those that I've had on even recently, including having on Patrick today. He's very talented at a young age, and these upcoming interviews are going to be amazing, as always. So until then, thanks for tuning in to episode 171. Oh, no. This is 172. With Patrick Charles, a.k.a. Keepsake Glass. Again, go follow him on Instagram at Keepsake Glass, and we'll go from there. And until then, stay hydrated. It's still summertime. I know we're all sweating, unless you're out in the mountains somewhere. You may not be. But stay hydrated. Be good to each other. And we'll talk to you next time. Talk to you soon. Love you so much. Bye-bye. Peace.
Man's inhumanity to man, all those things cause complication in creation. See, the domination of one nation to another nation, all those things cause complication. See.
Hey, what's up, Patrick? Welcome to the show.
Hello, how's it going?
Pretty good, man. Another beautiful Sunday here in Florida. Hot and rainy and sunny and all that kind of mixture of whatever we get here.
We're sharing similar weather then out here in Dallas. It is hot and rainy, and it's actually overcast, though.
Nice. Makes for a good day to blow glass.
That it does, especially when you're lucky like me and you have an air-conditioned shop.
Yeah, it's nice, dude. I'm spoiled at Disney with the AC in there, too. So I definitely understand.
Yeah. especially being my first 2 years I did it in the hot summer of Arizona with no air conditioning. So this is like I'm spoiled now.
Yeah, hell yeah. We'll definitely get into your studio talk for sure, but before we get too off topic here, and I just want to just quickly say that too, that we are recording this on the day of the first round of judging for the Tournament of Fire, third round of the Tournament of Fire, and we're going to get into some talks about that and how we got prepared for this and all that stuff. So definitely pumped for this chat, dude. But before we get there, let's go ahead and have you give us your superhero origin story and where you got blown glass there.
Oh well, origin story. Definitely from Earth, born here on Earth. Fast forward from birth to 21 years later, and that's when I first got into glass. I've been working a few jobs since I was 16, and I found a production company in Arizona for blowing glass. And at this point, I owned very little glass in my life, but I I wanted something new. I was working pretty much dead end jobs, and this seemed kind of like a change of pace, something I would kind of give me a fresh start. So that's why I applied. I applied at this company, and they're pretty big, so they would hire you with no experience and teach you to, do prep basically. First day, I pulled a couple hundred stringers and went from stringers to pulling points to, breaking down tubing, all sorts of prep. So the artists they had on staff could use that prep to make production pipes. And eventually, I moved on to pipes and did that for a few months, and I just got burnt out on production, so I ended up deciding to leave. And at that point when I left, that's when it hit me like a ton of bricks how much I loved the craft of glasswork. I just hated production. So I wanted to save up some money and set up my own studio.
Hell yeah. Did you find, like, before the glass, did you do other kind of art beforehand?
Yeah, actually, I've been creative my whole life. Been in music. That's where my creative outlet was up until glass. In fact, there was another version of life where I wanted to be a professional musician. So, but it definitely wasn't my bag. There's a lot of effort you have to put in to anything you're going to be successful at in life. And once I found glass, I decided I really wanted to put the effort in there.
Yeah, it's funny you say that, man, because I the struggle I have a lot is like with creative energy, and like I haven't hardly had any extra creative energy to put into anything else. Like I play guitar and draw and write and all that other stuff, and it's my podcast is my other creative outlet in a sense, but really like the art in a sense is all that energy goes into my glass. And because I'm the same way, like I love music, but yeah, it's tricky, right? It's a weird,
right?
It's a weird thing.
When I found glass, music kind of fell to the wayside. So, and it has ever since. I haven't really gotten back into it as heavily because all my efforts go into creating glass.
Yeah. Do you ever get a jam out here and there?
Yeah. I still, I'll sit down at the end of a day and over maybe a month or 2 months, I'll try and get a song written or something that'll help me kind of arrange the thoughts in my head how I want them, but no, not any regular jams. But I pick up my instruments every now and then, so it's not like I'm missing them.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, same here. Mine's always on the stand just to be picked up. But then I go to play and I have acoustic that I play, but then I go to play it for like maybe 30, 40 minutes and my fingertips are killing me and it's like, fuck.
Yeah, I'm at the point where the hand muscles are gone. So I'll play for 20 minutes and my hand starts to cramp. I still have the calluses, but my hand will cramp. So I put down the guitar.
That's funny. Hell yeah, man. Well, when you first started doing the pipes and stuff, like what were you doing in the production side of things?
Basically, what you think when you hear the word gas station pipe.
Okay.
I was making lots of those. You had a quota. They have about, let's say, 20 to 30 glass blowers on staff, and you had to hit a quota. And per design, the quota will change, but I was in the quota of 50 pipes per day, and now it's even more. So I had to make 50 of these per day. And they were, you squiggle on some stringers, throw down some silver fume. Actually, you do that. You throw down the silver fume, squiggle on some stringers, then shape your pipe out and throw that in the kiln. And the whole thing's supposed to take you 5 to 8 minutes. And so I was making those for a few months, and it really burned me out on the whole process. I just fell out of love with it.
Yeah, it's easy to do that, especially when you first get into it. Because like when I first got into the production side of things, I was doing like pendants and jewelry and stuff, so it wasn't like the functional side of things. But then when I started doing pipe production, it was the same way. I was like pulling points and stringers, and then I started graduated to decorating points, where I would just do wrapping rakes and then hand it over to my buddy Daniel, who was showing me the pipe process from the very beginning. And then every 5 or 6 pipes, I would like shape that one out, and then eventually I was all the way through shaping them out. But it was,
right. That's a cool way to learn it. Nice.
It was, but
break up the process.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and that's how I've taught it since. It's just kind of like one thing leads to the next, just kind of keep your muscle memory going. But it can be difficult to like you're saying, starting off brand new, and you're thrown into the fire of like, okay, we need 50 of these a day, and it's like, fuck, man.
Yeah, and that was how it was. They let you know from day one, like, look, this isn't going to be easy. It's going to be really hard, and we're gonna push you, and it's not for everybody. They let you know that from day one. There was no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Yeah. So I knew what I was getting into. Just for me, I was thirsty for something different, and I was ready to work hard. So I just fell in love with the challenge, and I couldn't be more grateful for the first 5-7 months I had of blowing glass, because it was all production. I spent 8 hours a day doing the same thing over and over again, which built my fundamentals, which helped me springboard to trying new things and teaching myself over the next years to come. Without that, I wouldn't be where I am.
Yeah, bro, that's huge.
So I'm very
Yeah, it's huge. And that's what I preach too. It's like you got to really go into it and just spend the first year just doing production, just to really learn your medium, instead of just being like, I'm going to make rigs today.
Right, yeah. It kind of makes me cringe when I see someone trying to make rigs before they can even make a clean smooth. Just not because I don't like the work. It's just because I see that, man, if you had built in your fundamentals, you could be making such cleaner stuff before you're trying to go straight for a rig. Kind of like watching someone stumble while they're trying to run before they even learn to walk.
Yeah, exactly. Yep, that's exactly it, dude. That's how I always talk about it, because it's definitely, you got to crawl before you walk in that whole, moniker of things. Yeah. It's so true.
It's just a lot of work. When you get into it, you see other people starting, and you see them, maybe they're 2 or 3 years down the road, but you've just been introduced to them, and you see their work, and you're like, oh, I want to make stuff like that. Mm-hmm. This guy's an independent artist doing it by himself, or her. This person is doing things by themselves on their own terms. I want to do that for myself. Well, maybe I can do that. So they start to see what it involves. They save up some money, get a torch, buy some glass, and then they want to start getting into it, and they don't really appreciate the effort that the person before them put into it to get to where they were. Yeah. And that's just a result of the internet and all this technology, and it's really no one's specific fault, and it is what it is.
Yeah, man, it's so true. You see all these people out there that, no matter what field they're in, that are highly successful. And don't get me wrong, there are like the quote-unquote overnight successes, your Ubers and those kind of things. But like the majority of these people that are successful, it took them 10, 15, 20 years, and you don't see all the effort they put into it. I mean, like whenever I do like the Great American Teach-Ins here, my ex-wife was a teacher here, or she still is, but I used to go to her school and demo, and I always brought up skateboarders, and you always see these guys pulling off these tricks, but you didn't see Tony Hawk fall 10,000 times before he figured out how to make it do the 900. We're just seeing him pulling off the trick.
You saw the edit of landing these great tricks, but you did not see them biffing it 10 times for every one time they landed it.
Yeah, exactly. I think one of my favorite scenes in Degenerate Art was seeing Yushin try to nail that trick that he was doing. And and eventually he nails it, It's like, and glass is the same way. It's like you just got to keep practicing and fucking up and breaking shit and figuring out what you did wrong, and then next thing you know.
That's the truth. Man, Degenerate Art, that is a piece of history right there that I think is a little bit underrated, as far as even by the and the people that were in it. Mm-hmm. I appreciate that so much, and it's kind of it started a movement. That film, It started a movement, and it's incredible to have met. And I talked to Snick a couple months ago and told him about. It was the first time I met him. I told him I saw the movie. That's where I saw him first, and him and a few other artists. He was so humble. And he's like, "Oh, yeah, Degenerate Art. Got to thank Slinger for that. That was some interesting times." And at no point did he take any credit for anything that I was trying to give him credit for. Was like just being a pavement, a path maker, and all sorts of stuff and inspiring others through his work. Well, that's great. I appreciate that. I was just doing what I was doing, and
Yeah.
that's so awesome to see these artists I'm just being me. If I inspire others, awesome. But that was not their intention from the setup.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and like you're saying with
Cool.
technology nowadays, it's like, there's lots of ways of getting influenced, but there's also lots of ways to get frustrated and overwhelmed.
Yeah, lots of input, man.
Yeah,
A lot of input these days.
Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah, and part of the reason I got this podcast going was because of the new generation of artists that were inspired from degenerate art that came out of the woodworks. It's like made this whole new movement.
I will raise my hand and admit I am one of them. I saw that movie before I ever got into glass, and then a year later I started getting into glass, and I watched it again, and I watched it again and again, and it definitely started something. And all the way down, I got to give you credit for this podcast. I mean, I've been listening to this thing for a little over a year and a half now, since I discovered it, and I learned things that I didn't know, and it's pretty incredible to be able to have a source like this for information as an artist.
Yeah, thanks.
So degenerate art, or whether it be something like that, it's I have to express my appreciation for it, because without stuff like this, I wouldn't be where I am. That's just the truth.
Hell yeah, I appreciate that. And that's my whole goal and hope of this whole thing. If I just help one person. And I've gotten a lot of feedback throughout the years, and it's now going on 3 years, which is just crazy. Time's flying. But fuck,
Yeah,
man.
I'm sure it feels like yesterday, man.
Oh yeah, totally. Yeah, I remember just sitting around thinking about the concept of this show and how I was gonna do it, and had no idea even how to edit audio and that kind of stuff. So it's fun, and this is just like me doing my glass, man. I had to learn this shit on my own. Like there's tutorials and people out there that helped out. Don't get me wrong, but. I hear a lot of people talking about like, okay, I'm gonna try this. I'm like, dude, stop fucking thinking about trying and just go fucking do it, and then you'll figure it out on the way. All the mistakes you make on how to do it better, and
Nah, man, I totally hear that. I mean, you see it. You see other people saying things like, "Don't ask for permission, just go out and do it.
Mm-hmm.
Don't tell the world what you're about to do. Just go out and do it." And there are lots of people saying, I want to do this, I want to do that. It's like, okay, we'll do it. So.
Yeah, I hear it at work all the damn time. Oh, I want to do that, and then my first thing I say is, well, if you don't mind cutting and burning yourself every day, then that's the first stage of understanding.
Exactly. That's the kind of introduction someone needs when they say something like, "I would love to do that." It's like, well, think about it real quick. If you like being challenged to the point of failure, if you like cutting and burning yourself, or anything in between, then this might be for you.
Mm-hmm.
But if any of that doesn't sound fun, it's probably not for you.
Yeah, if you're one sadistic motherfucker, then this is the job for you.
Yes. If you like getting scars, this is definitely your craft.
Yeah, man. I've always said like we're like the S&M of the art world when it comes down to it.
Yeah, it's pretty gnarly. When I got into the craft, I definitely had a bit of a weak constitution for seeing gross photos, but after seeing the injuries people sustain from this craft, it's definitely it's strengthened my resolve to be able to look at some nasty burns and cuts.
Yeah, man, I'm sure including your own here and there.
Yeah, I've had a few bad ones. Never any burns that sent me to the hospital.
Yeah. We'll definitely
only one cut where I had to go get stitched. Other than that, nothing that bad.
Yeah. Well, you can share that story here at the end for sure.
Okay.
In our little lightning round. Yeah, man. I always like to hear the gore. It's fun.
Yeah, definitely. I got a good one.
Hell yeah. So with the studio that you're working at, because I hear a lot about these glass studios that have 30, 40, 50 people in there that are all newbies, or they're just learning one specific thing. Like these guys just push bowls all day.
Right.
When you were learning that process though, like you did stringers, you did points, and then you were thrown into a pattern and a piece. Did they teach you like just the process of popping holes and pushing bowls too, or was it like you were just fucking things up until you figured it out?
Well, the process was I spent about 2 months on prep, and while I was on prep, if I worked a full 40 hours in the week, I could clock off early on Friday and have what they called free time, which meant I could do anything I wanted. So actually, I was able to kind of see other people make a pipe or something, and then in my free time, practice that and fuck up kind of without wasting any of their time or money. So that was how I got my basic exposure to, making my first pipe. But when I first got thrown into it, It was pretty much day one. All right, you're ready. You're on pipes. Here's your sample. Try and make that and see how many you can make. And then the next day, do the same. And then day 3, all right, you have a quota. Here's 50. Make 50 of them.
Wow.
And how many can you make first quality? And they go back into the back of the shop, and someone quality tests them and say I made 30 that day. 20 came back second quality, 10 were first quality. And that was a good day, you know. The next day you improve. Make 12 first quality. And then the next day you improve. And at that point, they had me switching to a new pipe every week. So I'd make a new design every single week. I went through probably 10 or 12 designs before I kind of got burnt out on it and decided to go my own way.
Yeah, man, it's tough because I know myself. I've had that type of environment, having artists and they're working with me and teaching from the very beginning and doing production, and you know, I definitely understand like the creative person doesn't always enjoy repeating themselves, you know. But
yeah,
you know.
Lucky for me, I had a paradigm of this is my job.
Mm-hmm.
I got hired there to work 40 hours a week for $8 an hour, you know. So whether or not I wanted to do it, it was what I had to do to make money. So
well, it's smart.
Same as someone wakes up and goes and does an office job. That was what I woke up and went to do, and it was okay with me.
Yeah, man. But even like when you get out of that environment and you're doing your own thing, it's like you got to treat it like a job.
Oh yeah,
you know,
it's different.
You
definitely
totally
have to have a lot more discipline to get to that point. I had to learn that, you know. At first it was a job, and then it wasn't, and I stopped treating it like one. And life came and kicked me in the pants a little bit, and I had to learn, oh, I need some discipline with this craft, otherwise I'm not going to make money with it.
Yeah, dude, you got to like I've gotten to a point when I was doing my studio stuff, like I had a bunch of old t-shirts I'd cut the sleeves off of, and these were like my uniform shirts, you know, and like I would make sure every day I get up and I'd pack my bowl and get my uniform on and go out to the shop. And my uniform, you know, is a pair of flip-flops and board shorts and my cut-off t-shirts. But like I knew if I had that on, I was in glass blowing mode. And you know, I'd go out there and set a schedule for myself, and you know, 9 to 5 or 10 to 5 or 10 to 6 or 10 to 3 or whatever the fuck it was, you know, and just get like a regular schedule going. And it's like you're saying, it's not always easy to do. And there's days where you want to fuck off, or days you want to not work at all, you know.
Right. Those come along, and sometimes you can enjoy the perks of being self-employed and take a day off.
Yeah, it's just scheduling those days in. I mean, if you can just set a schedule and be like, you know, these are my theme days, and this day I'm not doing anything, then you know, do it.
Yeah. Now I'll admit it took me probably a year of being self-employed for me to learn that was important. You know, a year I'd spend a couple of days working, and then I'd spend 2 days fucking off and playing video games with my friends online, and get lost in a Call of Duty tournament or something, and then I'd realize like, oh man, I've got less than $100 in my bank account, and the only thing I can do right now is go blow some glass to make some money.
Yeah.
And enough times of that happening, I had to realize like, nope, I got to treat it like a job now. I can't just blow glass when I feel like it and hope to keep my bills covered. So it did take almost a year of fucking around to get my head on straight, but I did eventually.
Well, you know, and you did a smart thing too by going and getting that job, because like, you know, it's like doing an internship somewhere to learn a skill. Like the fuck's Guy Kawasaki that wrote the Rich Dad Poor Dad book series. One of the things like that whole series is all about like overcoming your own personal adversity, and one of the things that he was always afraid of was the fear of being told no. So the way he learned how to be told no was by getting a job at Xerox, and was told no thousands of times, and eventually he became the #1 salesperson for Xerox. And as soon as he got that accomplishment, he quit his fucking job and went on to the next thing to learn the next skill. And you know, ideally it's the whole just going and learning skill sets. Like right now with my position over at the Mouse House and getting a chance to be in the hot shop, I'm learning a whole new skill set in glass. So if another hot shop has an opening somewhere that might seem better or down the road or whatever, you know, I've got this skill set now behind me to be able to do that. And I think, you know, on that same note, with social media the way it is, it's teaching us all how to market ourselves as business people, not just as like a bunch of goofy glassblowers, which going into this tournament that we're in, I think is killer. One of the things that Scott and I talked about in his interview was about the fact that this tournament is teaching people how to do live streaming, how to market themselves, how to talk to their community, how to build relationships, keep in touch with your shop owners, all that shit. You know,
yes, very real life applications.
Yeah, it's awesome. And the fact that we get an opportunity to, you know, get orders and win a little bit of money and blah blah blah. It's, you know, it's killer. And these are the kind of things that you have to do. There's nothing worse than I hate when I hear somebody saying, "Oh, I didn't have time to do that." And I'm like, "Okay, well, so what did you do today? How long were you watching Netflix?"
Right. Yeah, I think the same thing. And usually those words will come out of my mouth. Oh, I didn't have time. And in my brain, I say, wait, hold on. Did you just lie to yourself?
Mm-hmm.
Did you not make time? And that's usually the case. I didn't make time. I always have time. And if I sit down at the end of the day and say, how much time cumulatively did I spend watching Netflix, on Facebook, doing things on Instagram that weren't business related, and all other forms of fucking off, I did have time.
Yep.
So I definitely agree with you there. And usually I try and hold myself accountable.
Yeah,
to that.
yeah, and that's how you start. It's just being mindful about it. And don't get me wrong, man. After 18 years of blowing glass and being 40 years old, I'm still working on that shit.
Yeah, definitely. No one ever gets it right perfect 100% of the time.
No,
So
yeah,
being young, I just have to appreciate my situation, which is, I compare myself to a lot of people that are older, which isn't always good. And in fact, often it's not good to compare yourself to others.
Mm-hmm.
But I always forget, like, oh, I still have a lot of time to make the improvements I need to make. So while I'm comparing myself, I almost get myself, in emergent state of mind, like, oh, I need to go, I need to get better, I need to do this. And wait, slow down, you've got time. Don't compare yourself to anybody but who you were yesterday.
Yeah, exactly. But and you can tell though by your work that you obviously got a good foundation, and then you went off on your own and you started figuring out certain wigwags, patterns, etc. on your own by dedicating yourself to it. And I guess like when you got into getting into other realms of glass, like the more functional side of things besides hand pipes and whatever, like did you take any classes at all, or is it just watching videos on YouTube? Like how'd you go about learning that process?
The process for all that was really, it's videos and self-taught processes. I've not for lack of trying, but I have never taken a class before. Mostly just I haven't been able to afford it. So YouTube videos were my best friend when I first set up my own studio. And then after I had tried, enough techniques based on the videos, I was about a year into working for myself, and I was comfortable enough with trying other stuff and then just teaching myself through my failures. I'd try something and think I'll be doing it right and just fuck it up completely, and ended up, it'd go right into the scrap bucket. But the knowledge that I gained from that, it couldn't be thrown away.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's well said, man. That's well said, because that's the part of it so important. It's like as soon as you fuck up and you can stop and contemplate real quick on it, what you did wrong, and then go back and just do it again. And I tell people, like kids all the time, are like, how are you doing that? I'm like, oh, it's like riding a bike, except you got to scrape your knees and get back on and keep riding.
Right.
You can't just put
man.
your bike away.
That's a great thing to think about it, man. You can't just ask them, how are you riding that bike up the street? Well, I could try to explain it to you, but let me just teach you to ride the bike. Or let me show you how you can teach yourself to ride the bike.
Yeah, exactly.
One of the two. There's no way to really explain the process.
Yeah. And I went to a convention last year Dave Ramsey puts on, and there was a guy talking, and one of my favorite things, my takeaways was he was talking about the whole parable about taking a man to the water to teach him to fish kind of thing, and then he can feed himself, or whatever. And his whole thing was really truly taking a person to the water and actually teaching them, so you never have to take them again. They can just keep taking themselves. And
right, exactly.
It's just the person has to be able to take, I hate to keep on bringing up cliches, but the whole bringing a horse to water, type thing, they may or may not drink from it,
You have to be prepared to take on that, whether it be water or information. That you have to be prepared to take it on.
Yeah, and then put it into action.
Exactly. And so you hear this whole thing, learn by doing. I've heard that a lot in my life. Well, take it one step further with glass. You learn by doing and expecting failure. Don't expect success every single time. Expect just something to happen, and usually the first few attempts you're going to fail. You're going to end up with nothing except for knowledge, and that's more valuable than anything else.
Yeah, and that's why a lot of times too I always preach about just practicing things in clear, just to understand the move set to where you're getting from A to Z to your final piece. And then you can start 100%. Adding all your prep and patterns and wigwags and opals and everything else into it. Because there's nothing worse than trying to figure something out for the first time, and you got 5-6 hours into it, and then nothing to show at the end.
Yep, and you'll see that scale from small to big as you spend years doing it. When I first started, all my imagination could only go as far as my skill would allow it, which was basic pipes. So I'd want to do a pipe with a bunch of horns on it or something like that, something just crazy. I'd want to push my boundaries, knowing that I wasn't able to make a rig yet, but I want to do some crazy pipe. And I'd make it, and the horn attachments wouldn't come out great, or they'd be flimsy, or something would go wrong, and I ultimately wouldn't be happy with the piece. But I learned a lot from those pieces that I wasn't happy with, and now more often than not, I make pieces that I can learn to be happy with.
Hell yeah. Yeah, so that being said, when did you get to a point in your own glass where you're able to go out and start hitting the road to sell your stuff?
Oh, well, that was a matter of how I wanted to sell my stuff. So if I wanted to do what a lot of people have done, which is build up a case and take it to a shop, it would have taken me a little longer. But I had Instagram at my fingertips, so I set up my own studio in my garage, and I was working at a grocery store while I was doing that. And for about 3 months, I had a job while I was blowing glass, and after that, I had, with the previous experience I had with my first job, I had enough skill to where I was comfortable just making and selling crappy pipes to my friends and anyone following me on Instagram. So I started doing auctions because I saw that was a thing. I saw other people doing auctions. So it took me about 3 or 4 months of every day blowing glass before I decided to just take the plunge and go off on my own and quit my job and start selling glass. And even then, it was still pretty tight. I only made a certain amount of money, and I had to live on a budget. I still have to live on a budget because things are the way they are across, all sorts of economies, whether it be the American economy or the world economy. So, but I found myself very thirsty to get on my own as soon as possible. So, I found Instagram was my best way to make sales, and then some local shops. I got into it at a time where most local shops were buying import glass. They were not supporting local artists as much as they had been in the past. So I mostly looked to the online community at that point.
Huh, interesting. Yeah, it's such a weird dynamic in the smoke shops because back in the day when doing this stuff, their like glass pipes were few and far between. You had like Chameleon and a couple guys driving around the country in their station wagons and cars selling stuff as distributors, and then we got hit by the feds came in, and then we all freaked out and went underground, and then all of a sudden, boom, import market went fucking apeshit. And
yeah, it did.
And then all of a sudden the cannabis laws started changing, and social media came out, and then that kind of seemed like it. I mean, I know the import influx is still there. However, it seems like with the local glassblower now was able to fill in some of those gaps. But then, like, all of a sudden, I've seen another resurgence of imports. It's weird, and it's a lot of the same shit that was made fucking 10 years ago. Like, I see the same elephant or fish, or it's like the same 5-year-old kid's now 10 years old, but he's over there in India making some fucking glass. Whatever the hell it is.
It's coming from all over, and whether it's in India or China or over there in Asia. I've also seen what I would classify as import shops here in America. I see people running shops with undocumented workers and making they use nothing but Chinese glass, and they put together a piece and put a bacon on it and call it American made. And that's cutting so many corners. I think it's disrespectful to call it American made at that point. So
yeah, totally. It's a fucking lie.
Yeah. It's coming from all sorts of different areas. It's a lot of it's demand. There wouldn't be a supply without the demand. There are people out there on a budget who don't care where their glass came from. They just want something that percolates water for under $100. Yep. So that market will always be alive, and it's upon an artist like me, and perhaps yourself if you'd like to take that on, or any of us artists that call ourselves artists. It's our responsibility to educate people as to the pipe culture, not just, you want to buy a bong, that's cool. Go to a smoke shop and do your thing, that's fine. But if you want to be involved in the artistic pipe culture that's been being built for over 20 years by leaders of it now, then it's our responsibility to teach them. Here's what it is to be a pipe maker in the U.S. and now across the world. They're in the U.K., they're in Spain, they're in Denmark, they're all over, just actual pipers I respect because they're in the culture.
Yeah, man, and it's frustrating too because there's so many artists out there, and glass artists and glass blowers in general, that could be the China killers that the shops don't need to buy import. And I always wonder, just from being around and seeing how some businesses have worked, that a lot of these, not a lot, but there's some shops that'll barter with other distributors. They'll have a product and they'll trade their product for the pipes. You know,
right? I've seen it happen, and in fact, I've done it myself.
Yeah, yeah,
100%. I think a lot of it just boils down to ignorance. You know, some smoke shop owners just don't know, so they buy what they have. They buy what they have access to. They don't know, one, where their glass is coming from, or two, if it's causing any harm to any of these local artists. You know.
Yep.
So.
Yeah, or they just don't care because it's all numbers.
Exactly, and they're in it for, it's just their work. They're in it for the money, and they couldn't really care less about the culture.
Yep.
Which I'm not going to hold that against anyone.
No,
Fine.
I understand it.
Out there, I couldn't care less about either. So
yeah, business is business.
Just so happened. Yep, business is business. So I appreciate when I can find a smoke shop out there that will seek to do business only with local artists, and they won't get any import whatsoever.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I completely agree, man. They're good to find, and you know, it's talking with Nick the other day about with Glass Roots and the trade show circuit, and I've just been curious. Like a lot of times, I've called shops up for to see how they're doing with my glass and whatever, and a lot of them are like, "Oh, we've got a small budget this month because we're going to whatever trade show," and then they don't order for like 3 months because of it, because then they go and they spend their money at the trade shows instead of buying from their local glass blowers or whatever, and it's a weird dynamic and frustrating at times.
It definitely can be, especially for guys like you that have been in it for so long. You've seen it change from one thing to another. You know, you started before smartphones were a thing, so there wasn't even an Instagram, and now seeing what it is, it can definitely understand how it would be frustrating for people that have been in it longer than 4 years like me. I'm still a baby in this craft, and I have to remind myself every day.
Yeah, absolutely, man. It's like it's a weird catch-22 or a circle of whatever you want to call it, because the artist gets frustrated because they can't sell to their local smoke shops. They're not selling to whoever, so they say fuck it and they go directly to the customer. And then the smoke shop gets pissed off because you're selling directly to the customer, so they stop buying from you. It's like, okay, well, we all need to get on the same page here and have some kind of standardization or something of some sort. I'd say probably impossible, but there could be organizations that are created, or guilds or whatever, where like this select group of all these smoke shops that are in this one thing have access to this group of artists over here, or something of that, something that can come up, so we're all on the same page.
Right.
And then we get into educating each other about the glass and what's going on, and we can talk about laws, and every state's fucking different, whether it's 18 or 21, and it's there's so much bullshit we gotta deal with.
There is, man. There's a lot of rules to this game you have to abide by.
Yeah.
And so I agree with that. And this is a very young industry, very young. And it's been, in my 4 years of being into it, it has exploded from something very small into what is turning huge. You're starting to see corporate guys put in their money into, whether it be the cannabis side of it or the glass side of it. There's people that have no interest other than investing some money to make some money. And that's when you start seeing industries explode. And that's what we're seeing with cannabis and with certain parts of glass. Now, I'm not saying that about art glass, but especially with production and stuff, you got big, huge factories with millions of dollars into them so they can start cranking out production glass. It's pretty incredible.
Yeah, and I have heard stories, or quote-unquote rumors, of specific shop owners that have lots of money who have actually only opened up smoke shops to draw attention to them, so that when cannabis is legal in their area or medical-wise, they can then have a dispensary location set up already. It's kind of interesting kind of thing. And then I've with all these e-cigarette liquid juice places everywhere, I've always wondered that too. It's like, are all these little places like just waiting for things to go legal, so now they already have a shop, so then they can just bring that product into it, and next thing you know, you got 100 distributors and dispensaries, I should say, on one block.
Absolutely. And these people are almost, they're giving themselves head starts, so when the starting pistol fires, they're already 200 yards down the lane.
Yeah, man.
That's how business is done.
Yeah, absolutely. But it's interesting thinking about that too, because like we're talking pre-show, like or even just now with about the production side of things, and I know for a lot of my generation who had to survive by doing production, and a lot of us got burnt out. I mean, fuck, I'm still burnt out from doing production, and it's been probably 5 years since I've done it. Except, I mean, I do it at work all the time, but it's a whole different thing there. But
Right, yeah.
the I've always said that those that have been in this industry for at least the last 10 years got a little bit of a head start on where things are going to come from. But I think it's for those that can change the mentality to understand that you don't necessarily have to do production. You can do one-offs and some high-end production per se, and let the newbies come in and do the production mode. It's a weird thing to get used to the social medias, and your generation grew up with it. Where I'm still getting used to having a freaking phone in my pocket all the damn time.
Yeah, for me, my generation, us glassblowers that have been in for 5 years or less, this is all normal for us.
Yeah.
So it's definitely there's a weird paradigm shift there from one generation to another.
Yeah, it's funny when you tell a 10-year-old kid that I've started doing this before YouTube, and they're like, before YouTube? What do you mean? Hasn't that always been there?
That's insane.
Yeah.
I think about it, and I was alive before the internet, but I was a kid. I was a baby.
Mm-hmm.
I look back, and the first cell phone I remember when the first flip phone came out, and I was still a kid. My dad got a flip phone. That's so for me. I'm in this generation of DVDs and further instant streaming and smartphones and everything you want right at the your fingertips.
Yeah.
And so I do have to remind myself that that wasn't always the case, which it helps me to do when I think about the old school artists, the people that paved the way, people that learned from Snodgrass and all the generations that came after that. They had to hustle, and I don't have to hustle as hard as they did when they first got into it. I don't have to walk 5 miles up to a few different shops to try and sell my stuff. I can just post a picture, and I'm really lucky for that.
Yeah, we're all jealous of your generation. At least the guys like you that have actually put the effort in and really busted your ass to understand this medium. Because, dude, I mean, you can say I'm a glassblower all fucking day long. I mean, I see it all the time. Their friends are hyping them up, and because they can make quote unquote a rig that you sneeze on hardly and the thing falls apart. But you're a glassblower.
Exactly. Yeah, definitely. To what extent, that's debatable.
Mm-hmm.
So, and really, that's where the ignorance comes in. Through if you're just a buyer, and ignorance has such a negative connotation, but I just mean you don't have the information. If you come in and you see these two pieces made and they both look kind of cool, but you don't know what a clean ring seal looks like, and you don't know what a good wigwag looks like versus a sloppy one or anything like that, you're not going to compare them really constructively. You're not going to criticize them with the same eye you would as if you were informed on the craft. So that's why I think a lot of these other artists are out there right now they're having some success on Instagram selling or auctioning their pieces that are subpar quality. But I think that's just because people want to show support for people that are out there hustling and doing what they like and trying to work for themselves, and they're less interested in well, what went into this? Is this actual quality? Should I teach myself what quality is, or does this look cool to me?
Yeah, man. Yeah,
and again, like I said, it's our responsibility. I personally take it as my responsibility to educate them. If they have any questions, tell them. How'd you do that? Oh, okay. Well, here's how I did it. Explain the process. Give them an appreciation for what you went through.
Mm-hmm.
That's how you educate the buyer.
Yeah. And that's what I think is such a cool new thing with social media and the live streaming, is being able to set up in your shop and have one of your customers watching you make their piece. Like, I hope it gets to a point to where we can do this live streaming to where we can actually hear, verbalize with our community. I mean, I know it might be a little bit overwhelming to have that situation, a lot of these voices talking to you at one time. But,
right.
Just the opportunity to be able to talk, and answer questions, or to show a certain technique or whatever, it's a huge opportunity for all of us just to continue educating our customer, but also learning how to market ourselves and how to talk to our customers. Because, as an artist, a lot of us are introverted and don't want to have a face out in the community per se. hiding behind a
Yeah,
name
that's
or a
true.
moniker or
Myself,
something.
anyways.
Yeah, it's not easy. Like, even as much as I enjoy being on stage, it's still not easy just to turn my phone on and start talking. But I just do it, and I start talking, and next thing I know, it's been 10 minutes, and I've been rambling.
Exactly. Yeah. It's just don't think too much about it. Just do it, and it'll happen.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, dude. So, talking about the business side of things, and you're talking about budgeting yourself. So, do you set a budget for your personal space and your business, or do you just kind of have like an overall idea of what your money in, money out kind of deal is?
Yeah. At this point, there's so many things to keep covered, and it's just me. I tend to keep it more qualitative than quantitative. How does it feel? Like I know how much money I have coming in and going out, and then I have to manage. Okay, well, how these expenses that I'm incurring. I need to mitigate which expenses I incur and don't. So mostly priorities are glass. So I always need to have money to get oxygen and buy glass when I need it. But I also, got to have rent paid and stuff like that. So all my money that I have comes from purely selling glass. That's my living, selling the glass that I make. So I definitely have to budget, usually on a monthly basis. How much money did I make? You know what? It's even more like on a weekly basis. How much did I make last week? How much can I make this week? And I have to kind of extrapolate or correlate that to how much work it takes me to get that amount of money.
Mm-hmm.
So, and that breaks down my time budget, my fiscal budget, my recreational budget, anything like that. It's all broken down by how much money can I make and how long did it take me to make that money.
Hell yeah. Yeah, it's smart. And that's what's fun with this, too, is there's so many different ways of going about, as an artist, to put your voice in your glass. And then when it comes to the financial side of things, there's lots of ways of going about doing it, too. It's like, whatever works for you, works for you.
Right. Yeah, there's so many different ways to accomplish the same task. And some ways are maybe more effective than others. I'm not going to deny that.
Mm-hmm.
But there's a lot of different ways to accomplish the same thing. And I think that's incredible, because I see other artists doing ways that I may not have ever considered, or ways that I would have not wanted to consider, but then I see them doing it. Usually it happens with artists that I'm around personally, local artist friends, and I can learn from them, and I incorporate certain aspects of what they're doing into what I'm doing, and then I in turn change what I'm doing based on inspiration from other people, because there are so many other ways to achieve something.
Yeah, 100%, man. It's I think having a circle around you. It's a whole circle of five concept, and the influence you have in your life, and being able to talk to people openly that are friends of yours, or in the same realm of space and glass art, that you can talk about business and how are you running your books, or whatever, because that kind of conversation never happens. I hear more people bitching about their money than I hear people talking positive about what they're doing with their money, and it's
agreed,
which I get, but at the same time, it's like, stop bitching about it and make a plan. And, it's that plan to fail to plan concept. And if you make a plan, then you're going to set yourself up for winning and not failure. And it's huge. With your money wise, do you have separate accounts set up for yourself, or is it all just you run everything out of one account?
As for now, yeah, it's all running out of one account. My life and my glass expenses are all kind of intertwined. That's not how I want it running forever. Right now, it's all still very fresh, very new. I'm still just building a brand. I'm just learning things on my own. And within the next year, I'd like to transition into splitting those up to where I have business and I have my personal, and they're separate.
Yeah, it's important to have. It just makes it also easier to keep track of your shit when it comes to like taxes and just print out your
exactly
your
yeah
bank
all that
statements.
kind of stuff. I want to keep separated so that's just very clear.
Yeah.
As of now, it's just very, very new, and it's all so complicated. It's, I have to wake up in the morning and deal with, well, here's the orders I sold yesterday, and I ship those, and I need to work on this, and I need to get this sold today, and I need to try and talk to these customers, and I also want to try and talk to this promoter about doing this, and here's this tournament coming up, I need to plan for that. And there's just so many different things to think about. Just for now, I just take things as they come and prioritize.
Hell yeah.
But eventually, and by eventually I mean within the next year, you have me or any other artist, you have to work toward the point of a lot more organization that I'm currently dealing with.
Yeah, it definitely helps. It just takes, like, I think the whole concept of taking the least amount of time to think about something and just be used to doing it. Like, like for instance, Tim Ferriss podcast, it's a great show, and he's did a whole episode on morning routines that were just little snippets from some of his top guests that talked about their morning routines, and all of them, and it was everybody from like a social media marketer to a general in the military, they all have the same fucking morning routine every single day. They don't have to guess what they're going to be doing in the morning. So they can get up, they do their routine, and by noon or 10 o'clock or whatever time of day it is, that morning routine's done. And that's like, eat your food, get your workout in, take a shower, whatever. And that you're not using any brain space and your bandwidth to do it.
Yeah.
So when you're done with your morning
I
routine,
think
you're
that's
on
really
fire.
important.
Yeah, it's huge.
Absolutely. And when I think about that, especially being younger, my brain tends to think, oh, that sounds terrible. I don't want to live a life of that rigidity. No way. No, thank you. But then I have to think about it even further. And something comes to mind that Bishop Randall told me when we were hanging out is something he incorporates in his life is a duality. It's nothing is always is or is not. Things change. You can be different versions of yourself at the same time. So, for instance, you don't just have to like rap forever. You're not just a rap lover. You can like country too, or you can like poetry and novels or whatever. So there has to be a duality. So when I think about that rigidity, I don't want to do that morning routine and live my life based in that time block. Well, then I can think about, well, maybe I can incorporate more with duality.
Mm-hmm.
Some point of the day, I am rigid like that. And then at other points in the day, I can be more free flowing and allow my creative to take over. Because that's the fear for me is if I do get too rigid, what's going to happen to my creative side, that free spirited, what am I going to do with this time because it's free? I can create anything I want. So I don't want to give that up, but I also I don't want to be irresponsible my whole life. So there has to be that duality. You have to find that happy medium, that balance.
Yeah, and I think too, like for myself personally right now, like I'm learning what parts of the day do I function better doing what tasks. And I know like first thing in the morning when I get up, I am more productive between the hours of like 7 a.m. and 10 a.m. Like those 3 hours in the morning, I can knock out all my emails, Facebook messages, blah, 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 in those first 3 hours after getting up and doing my little morning routine. I know my brain space. And then by 10 o'clock, if I was, when I was working at home or even when I'm ever at the Mouse House doing my thing there, right before my shift starts, I'll go turn the shop on. And by the time my morning routine's done, my shop's all hot and ready to go. And then I can go in there and then be creative for 6 hours or 8 hours or, whatever. But it's just by being mindful and understanding, again, where you work best. I know, after usually about 3 or 4 in the afternoon, I'm ready for a fucking break. So usually by 3 or 4 o'clock, even at work, I take my first big hour break is usually about 4:30 to 5:30. And just because I know that's a good time for me to stop, take a break, catch my breath, get some food, get my energy back and go in again. And then by like 7 o'clock, I'm ready to kick some ass. Or if I'm at home, I'm at 10 o'clock at night, I might work from like 10 till midnight or 1 in the morning because I know that time period I'm back to being creative again. But then I'll go there and do a whole different set of work. I'll do one piece or I'll make a bunch of production. It's just like you're saying, it's just understanding the duality of who we are and when it works the best at what time of the day. And every day is going to be different. It depends on what time you go to bed. I can get into different routines all day long. And the experts even say, these quote unquote experts, that whether you go to bed at 5 or go to bed at 10 at night, you should get up the same time every fucking day. And your body just gets used to that every day getting up at the same time, because you can't catch up on sleep ever.
Right. Yeah. Well, there's also those people out there who operate better on less sleep sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
So, funny you bring up the experts. Those things experts say don't apply as a broad blanket to everyone.
Yeah, exactly.
So, what works for one definitely will not always work for another.
Yep. Yeah, man.
But I do think it's important for what you're saying is, learn yourself. Learn what works best for you.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's why I say, like, you know, I dig what you did by getting a job and learning the glass because you had to, because it was a job, but you went and still dedicated that time to learn your skill set. And now you can
Take
go
it seriously.
yeah, and now you have that skill set, it doesn't take any energy of your brain to know that you how to pull a centered point and how to pull stringers and stuff. You know, that's just muscle memories there. It doesn't take any effort at all. Because, dude, I hate fucking sitting and pulling points. I've probably pulled 1,000,000 in my career, and I still do it. But now I can do it, and I can not really watch the TV show, but I can throw a movie on and just be completely not even thinking about what I'm doing on the torch. I'm just going through the rings just over
and
and
let
over.
your body go into autopilot, and you have a centered point.
Mm-hmm. And
That's
then,
incredible.
Yeah, it is.
Definitely, it's important to be able to build that up. If you can equate it to, if you're going to tell a new person, like if they've ever learned to drive stick shift, you know how to drive a standard transmission. Do you remember when you first started how hard that was to not stall out? You remember how hard it was to find that sweet spot in the clutch? And now, when the light turns green and you just take off because it's so easy, well, you need to build that same fundamental understanding with glass that you do with that.
Yeah, it's so true. Yeah, and
do the same thing over and over.
Yeah, exactly. It's same with, like, we talk about the music. You know, if you want to, you can play the guitar or you can play the fucking guitar, and the only way to really do that is to practice scales. And that's why I don't consider myself to be a quote unquote musician. I can pick up almost any instrument and I can jam, and but I'm not really good at reading music.
Yeah, I'm not very proficient in any of the music I play. I'm just okay.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I definitely identify more as a glass artist than a musician, and I think I always will.
Yeah. Yeah, but I'm sure, though, if you dedicated yourself to your music, you would practice the scales, and then you'd be proficient at that.
Yeah, that's one thing I did learn from this craft is the process I went through to learning it. And then I take that process and relate it to any other craft, whether it be music or cooking, baking, or welding, or manufacturing, building a structure, anything like that. I think about, well, for someone to be truly good at it, they had to go through a similar process of trial and error, learn by failure, and building these fundamentals. And so, yeah, I definitely have learned that if I wanted to do anything else as badly as I wanted to do glass, I would have put in the same amount of work, and I'd be just as good as it.
Oh yeah.
So that's really important to think about, and I learned it firsthand by doing glasses. I put in the effort, and I saw the payoff, and I still have a long way to go. I still, like I said, I'm a baby in the craft, and that includes my skill. So I have a long way to go, but I learned, I think about a cobbler or any of these crafts that take an insane amount of skill to do well. But I could do that too if I had taken the same journey,
Yep.
But it takes an insane amount of want, it takes an insane amount of effort, and it takes some gumption.
Yeah, and a ton of adversity.
Yeah, absolutely. That's the truth right there.
Yeah, man. Well, that kind of brings me to the tournament that we're in. Seeing the post yesterday on Friday, we had a couple of the artists in the group that either had kilns go down or one of them got stung by a wasp the day before and their hand was all fucked up. It's.
Oh no, I did not see that. You got stung by a wasp. That's horrible.
Kira. Yeah, she was showing she put a picture in I think it was on the Instagram group. Her hand was all swelled up. So we were maybe it was the Facebook. I don't remember. We were both of those things. But yeah, her hand was all swollen. Okay. So I hope she was able to get on the torch and make something, because I know I've been there, man. I got stung on my hand one time out cleaning my pool, and I had to go do some glass work, and it was not easy. It actually, the heat hurt my hand more than anything because of the toxins in my hand. It was really weird.
Yeah, you don't consider that. That is weird. I mean, I definitely consider it with a burn. I get a burn, and I go back, and that burn is always much more sensitive to the radiant heat. But with a sting, that's interesting.
Yeah,
it's definitely going to be a lot more sensitive, so it makes sense.
Yeah.
How uncomfortable. But that is what we deal with as explorers.
Yeah, man, it's interesting. So, and this tournament's cool. Those that aren't familiar with it, the kids over at Cherry Glass started this year, and we're in the third round right now. And basically, it's an online social media competition where they have 16 artists they chose. It's a head-to-head competition. and each round is a different
Right,
type of pipe.
bracket style.
The bracket style. Yeah, exactly. It's a killer concept because we get to get involved with our communities that follow us, as well as we have judges that are voting. And like I was kind of saying before, we hit record about for the 1E round is just putting a 9.5 pinch bat up there for my piece, and then seeing how many likes I can get on my thing to see if I can get to the second round. Just to talk about it, but. I think the cool thing about this is, again, is it's really helping us. It's forcing us, in a sense, if we want to be successful at this, to really understand the social aspect of social media and doing the live streaming and posting and doing memes and just all the silly shit that goes along with it. And, you can go to school to learn marketing, or you can just fucking do it and understand it and figure it out while you're going along the process. And these kind of tournaments,
you can learn by doing.
Yeah, exactly. So in terms
that's an incredible thing about this process. Has made me really step outside of my comfort zone, man, but I'm learning a lot.
Yeah. So that being said, like, how did you go about preparing for figuring out what you're going to make for your piece? Or did you just jump in and say, fuck it, I'm just going to see what comes out? Or did you prepare a little bit?
Yeah, more or less. As far as the design went, I did not know what I wanted. I knew for sure that I wanted an island head in there. I wanted something sculpted, and I do these little island heads. They kind of look like little tiki things.
Mm-hmm.
And I knew I wanted to incorporate that somehow. But, the way I work is very whimsical in such that unless I have a specific custom order or I have something in my brain that I really want to make and get out, I'll just start something and see where it ends up. And that's what I did with this 1E. Was I just started it and just kept going, and just through the process, I almost like to describe it as the glass is talking to me. I let the glass tell me what it wants, and I just kept getting ideas, and it went from let me put this donut on top of this island head, and we'll push a bowl in the bottom, and that'll be cool. And then once I had that, I said, whoa, I want something penetrating this donut. What can I do from there? And then my brain started turning, and I wanted to incorporate an integral dab straw, something I'd never seen before. Just this whole experience, this whole tournament is really helping me push my comfort zone, turn some gears in my brain that don't normally turn, and absolutely helped me grow as an artist. So
hell yeah.
Really, to answer your question, yeah, I kind of just went with how I was feeling. I didn't start off with much of a design in mind.
Nice. Yeah, man, I saw this today when I had your picture up there. I was like, whoa, this is a pretty fucking cool idea. I like multifunctional, aspects of functional work, to be redundant there, but I, definitely dig the idea of what you're doing. It's pretty killer.
Oh, thank you.
And then you see, the recycler Klein Chillum.
Yep.
It's like there's some shit some of these cats are doing. I'm just like, oh man, because
exactly.
Like,
you think you have a cool idea, and you see something like that, and you're like, I'm going home. I'm done.
Yeah, right. I know, and that's kind of how I feel about it. Like I knew where the direction I wanted to go. I just wasn't really sure. And my time is so fucking limited right now, just for my own work. I wasn't even sure if I was going to be able to, do anything. But Jesus. So Friday was a long day for me, but I was pretty pumped with what I came up with and came out with. It wasn't like, I don't think it's my best work per se, but I think conceptually-wise it was a lot of fun. And like you're saying, it's given me a whole new fucking thought of where I can take this concept I came up with and run with it with a whole new product line of work. It's like, I like it.
Right. It's got your brain thinking in different ways, and I love it.
Yeah.
It's really excited me about this tournament. Not just about glasswork, but about how I want to run my business and market myself and all sorts of different stuff.
Yeah, and I think this is a really killer momentum builder because, a lot of the artists in here were worried about only having like 1,000 followers. Like I have a little bit over 10,000, and in the realm of the art community, it's a lot, but there's still like, I know plenty of people that have 25 and 30 and 40,000 followers. But
exactly. My numbers, I think I have almost 14,000 followers right now, and it feels like a small number compared to some of these other people that I either contend with or look up to.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
it's
dude,
incredible.
But there you go. Like, so you've been at this for like almost 5 years now, and I've been at this for 18, and you have like 4,000 more followers than I do.
Right, and it has absolutely nothing to do with either of our merit or abilities with glass, but everything to do with marketing and a lot of luck and circumstances.
Yeah, and understanding how Instagram works, and then being able to keep up with their changes and pivot and all that kind of stuff. Because I know I'm guilty for not posting for a couple of days, and if you don't post for a couple of days, you get lost in the fucking weeds.
Yep, that's true, man. Even on the opposite end of that spectrum, if you post too much, people will get turned off to you.
Mm-hmm.
And I learned that, firsthand from my own personal experiences. I'll post 5 or 6 times a day, and then I'll just stop getting as much activity. And people just don't care so much when they feel like you're spamming them.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Or if they don't care, if they feel like you're not present at all.
Mm-hmm.
They go on your page and they see your last post was 3 days ago, or even worse, a week ago or last month, and they're just totally turned off.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's such a weird, just the whole setup of the way things are, and even if when you like somebody's stuff, and then that's all you see in your feed is their shit.
Yep. Yeah. Who knows what this algorithm has done for people's feeds and what comes up in it? I don't even know. Yeah. I can absolutely say that I've seen a decrease in my activity for certain things due to it,
mm-hmm.
or since it's been established. But I can find ways to combat that. Going live is so great. Post something on your feed, say you're going live, and then go blow glass live for a few hours, or even 30 minutes, whatever. Get people come in and watch, and that way they want to come see your feed again later that week. And they'll tell their friends or anything.
Yeah, exactly. Do you have your Instagram set up as a business page?
I do, yes.
Yeah, cool. That's smart. Yeah, it's killer, man.
Yeah.
You can go on there and see all your insights and times of days and
exactly
demographics.
That useful information.
Yeah, it's huge.
Being like, okay, well, I posted this yesterday. I thought it might do well, but it only got 130 views. I wonder why that is.
Mm-hmm.
Well, maybe it had time of day, what day it was, all sorts of stuff, and you can go and kind of see some of that data when your Instagram's set up as a business.
Yeah, absolutely. And those are the kind of things that we all have to pay attention to. And it brings me back to like getting into a budget and understanding things. And when I worked at Subway, I did that shit for 7 years, and probably the biggest thing I learned there, besides the production side of things, because we did production making sandwiches, but was the business side and ordering like materials and understanding like, okay, we're getting low on meatballs. Do we need to order more than we usually would, or are we going to sell as many this month, kind of thing, and being able to look at records from the previous year's sales and understanding, okay, here's a potential forecast of what this year is going to look like, and then you can prepare a way ahead of time once you get to a point to where you have a set of numbers that you can compare. And it's, a year isn't always going to help you determine. It can give you an idea, but like once you start doing it, and then you can really spend 3 or 4 years of have data in like an Excel spreadsheet with little graphs and shit, and really see, okay, here's my peak months. I need to make sure I'm stocked up this month, or how can I increase this month, make this month better, or this month's going to cost me $5,000 to work. I got to make $10,000 so I can pay my bills too. Like all that kind of shit. So it's
all that is just totally crucial. I totally agree with that.
Yeah.
Whether it's in glass or running a restaurant or a retail business or whatever, you have to be able to read and react to that data.
Yeah, and it's all real simple business 101 stuff, but it's stuff that it's easy to just say, oh, fuck it, I'm just going to live off these pipes. I mean, I had that mentality. I'd have $20 in my pocket, I'd go buy a fucking quarter bag and roll like 4 blunts, and I'm broke, and it's like, oh, I'll just go sell a pipe, and then I don't sell the pipe, and then I'm hungry for 2 days. It's like just stupid mentality stuff, and it also has.
I was saying earlier, spent my first year doing stuff just like that. 100%.
Yeah, it's easy to do, and it's also a maturation thing, that goes along as human beings, but also in this industry as well. The maturation of this industry, and we're getting into our teenage phase now, and we're still, it's kind of like a 16-year-old girl, kind of throwing temper tantrums here and there. And I know what that's about because I have an 18-year-old now. So.
Oh man, bless you. I don't have kids myself, but I have 2 sisters, and we definitely put our parents through the ringer.
Oh yeah.
In the teenage years, man, it's incredible.
Yeah, mine was a little hellion, so I knew what to look
They're
out
little
for.
shitheads, man. I was a little shithead. I still am. I'm still got a lot of maturing to do. I'll admit that.
Hey, dude, it's all good. Enjoy it in your 20s, bro, because I'm glad I'm out of my 20s, because my 20s were dumb. I did some dumb shit. I learned a lot of stuff, and my daughter was born at the time, and like but I made some stupid fucking decisions, and a lot of it was just based on my dick.
Yeah, we'll do that kind of shit, man. It's terrible.
Yeah, it's nice being 40 now. Like my libido's, I don't get me wrong, I still have a pretty strong, drive, but like
It's not in control of you.
dude, yeah, it is not like leading me out like a fucking carrot dangling out there in the world anymore.
Yeah, it can definitely get crazy when you're in your 20s, and I have to remind myself, like, well, be in control, man.
Yep.
Be okay with being young and making mistakes and fucking up. Don't kill yourself over it. You absolutely need to learn.
Yeah.
Hold yourself accountable, but just move on. Don't dwell too much.
Yeah, two philosophies I wish I would have stuck. Like I was told at a young age that I wish I would have stuck with, and I can't say wish because I wouldn't take my daughter is like my rock. Like I don't even know if I'd be blowing glass honestly, because when my ex-wife was pregnant with her is when I met my master at the Renaissance Festival, kind of thing. Like I don't know where I'd be without her in my life, kind of stuff. But like I was told two things as a kid, and was like, one of the things about drugs is if it can kill you on the first time or you're addicted the first time, don't ever do it. And
yes, that is a great way to look at it.
And the second one was keep your dick in your pants unless you're pulling it out to take a piss.
I haven't heard that one yet. That's a good one.
Yeah. So, yeah. There you go.
Yeah, man. Definitely, it's important to keep in mind. We're all going to make mistakes, especially when you're my age or younger. We fuck up. We don't always think with the future in mind. And you learn from your mistakes. And you talk to other people who have been down that road before you. You can learn from others' mistakes, too. I mean, that kind of brings me, not that these were mistakes at all. These were actually huge advancements in our community, but the people that paved this industry for me, I wouldn't be where I am without, these big name guys who started 10, 15, 20 years ago being taught by their mentors, people that I look up to, like Banjo or Bishop or Slinger or Laceface or you name it, man. Snick. Lots of these artists that they paved the way, and they they made mistakes, I'm sure, but it's I really have to appreciate people that went through it before me and talk to them, get experiences from them. Don't try and go through life as a one-man island.
Yeah, exactly. And that kind of brings me to the whole mentorship, topic like you brought up, like having a mentor, whether it's in glass blowing or just life in general. It's such a huge thing to have someone older than you that's been there, done that, and wrote the book, and as long as they're obviously a professional in a sense and semi-successful in what they're doing, and you look, they could teach you some things.
Yeah.
You don't want just some fucking crackhead on the side of the road that's older than you teaching you life.
Yeah,
but,
they need to have some sort of ground to stand on.
Yeah, it's huge. And getting involved in mastermind groups like that, all that kind of stuff. It's like these are the little things I want to develop in the community on the podcast, and like I gotta one day find the time to do it. But it's such a huge opportunity, and I think having these groups like this tournament that we're in, we're all kind of laughing, saying, I'm not sure if my piece is going to live up to the expectations as we're all posting our pictures, but we're all at least in there talking to each other and asking questions and helping each other out. It's such a huge thing. There's no trolls in there talking shit, telling you your stuff sucks.
Yeah, I think it's really great when you have everyone open like that in a forum. When everyone's positive like they are, and usually that's how it is, especially in this glass industry that I've noticed. When everyone's trying to communicate with each other, there's a lot of constructive stuff happening.
Yeah.
So that's been really great for this entire process, is for me to learn, because I keep to myself a lot. I don't talk to a ton of other artists outside of the ones that I know, and so when I can be introduced to new artists like this process has done, and have a lot of them say the same thing, like, oh man, I'm kind of worried about this person. It's like, really, you are? Because I'm worried about you. And it's like we all kind of help humble each other, or we all help level our playing field in some way or another when it is an intimate group like that, relatively. There are
Mhm.
16 of us. It's not like we've all taken each other aside and been like, hey, what's up? But I'm just comparing it to, like a message board or something
Yeah,
where
yeah, exactly.
there's no personability at ever. So here we kind of can be more involved, and I do appreciate what that has to offer for the paradigm of the tournament and the group and what I have to learn from the whole process.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And that's where I'm at too. Like, I'm enjoying what I'm learning from this. That's why I wanted to ask about the preparation thing, because like I sort of prepared for it and did some sketches and some ideas, and then I was always like second guessing myself, like, well, and then I was had to be like, I've got a 3-hour window of opportunity to do this thing, and I got to spend this time and do it. So I did, and that's I have my result, and I can't take it back now. It's just,
And I think it's great to ask those questions, be comfortable enough to not only ask the questions but then answer them.
Mm-hmm.
So I love when I can ask a question like that and someone will give me their process. And everyone is different. Most people do things different than the one standing next to them will do. So I like to hear how other people will do it. And sometimes things people tell me they won't work for me. Other times they will. So stuff like this really just makes me appreciate being part of a community of like-minded people.
Hell yeah. I think, to be successful in anything, you have to be open for criticism and open to be able to make changes. And, it seems like you've been able to do that as, starting off where you started and being able to take, I'm sure, lots of fucking criticism when you're first starting, seeing your stuff go through quality control and you're getting, a 30% return on stuff that's first quality. That could be a kick in the nuts. It could be complete,
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Make your whole day suck. But then for you, it probably was the motivating factor to make it so that your percentages of on your first quality were better and better and better every single time.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially when I'm young. I understand. I have a large ego, and a lot of it has to do with my youth. And once I can get past that and appreciate what someone was trying to teach me or tell me, it is great. It is great for me to have that kind of constructive criticism, for me to learn and improve myself. But I'd be lying if I didn't say that sometimes when I'm faced with that, my youth takes over, and I'm like, well, fuck you for telling me that. Like, I'll just blah blah blah, and then I have to like, wait, hold on, you're just being annoyed because someone told you something that is true, and then you get over that, and then you can internalize the information and improve yourself.
Mm-hmm.
But absolutely, it's worth mentioning that you have to make the effort to improve, even if someone is going to help you improve.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and I think too it has to go on the other side of the spectrum of those that are criticizing have to know how to properly criticize and not be a dick.
Agreed. Yep. They have to know that being part of the industry is important. I get lots of criticisms from people who have never blown glass a day in their life, and some of those criticisms and they're almost laughable.
Mm-hmm.
Like, oh, you're telling me this because you just don't know the process. And other ones are absolutely valid. So
yeah,
you can't ignore them. You have to take them as they come.
Yeah, exactly. You got to be like a duck and let that water just run out of her back and not let it get to you, because it's easy to
True.
Besides being our own worst critic, like I was saying with my piece for this tournament, it's like I'm criticizing the hell out of this thing, but I could bring it to a show or even like people I've sent pictures of it to just to get some feedback, and they're all like blowing it up, and I'm asking for a true, honest feedback, and I haven't gotten any negative feedback on it. I seem to be the only one being negative about it.
as is the case with most of us honest artists, when we're truthful with ourselves, we're so negative about everything that's wrong with the piece.
Yeah.
Nothing that's right with it.
Yeah, it's so funny. And I think that's like, part of the dynamic of Instagram and social media, and like Jeff DeMarco, who does amazing photography for the pipe community for artists out there, and you see some of these pictures are fucking amazing, and it's like, damn, I would definitely buy that piece. But then you see it in person, and it's like a third of the size you thought it was, and may have a couple flaws here and there that are obvious once you see it in person.
Yep, I've definitely seen it, and I don't think there is an artist, a glass artist, maybe even regular artist, but glass artist for sure, that's not guilty of that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, but a lot of that has to do with now I'm not taking that statement in the right direction. A lot of that helps with people seeing something, and then they themselves raise their own standards. They raise the bar of what's possible because they see something in a photo that may represent it in a better light than it actually is. So there is something positive to be about that. But I definitely agree with you. I've seen plenty of amazing photos where the piece looks great, and then I see the piece in real life, and it falls short of expectation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty cool. I definitely like when that happens because it makes me feel better about my stuff.
Yes, it definitely helps me realign my reality a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah,
It's
man.
like, oh, okay, I get it. Now I see.
Yeah, it's so funny, and it's just the whole eye of the beholder. I mean, I can come up with every fucking cliche under the sun today, but it's
Yeah.
each
You
person's
can compare
perspective.
it to photos of models, man. You look at a photo of a underwear model or anything, and then you look at her in real life. There's always going to have been something that made that photo look better than the actual real life thing.
Mm-hmm.
So there can be that. You can equate it to the same thing with the glass.
Yeah. Yeah,
I
exactly.
mean, even especially when I'm trying to sell something, I will take a photo of something in its best light, at its best angle, and unless I'm putting up a 360-degree video, I'm not going to go out of my way to show the flaws of the piece.
Oh, see, there you go, man. Your generation in 360 videos.
Yeah, exactly. It's just standard. My whole glass career, I've had the opportunity to post up a video of my stuff.
Yeah. It's so fucking crazy. So when you took your pictures today, like, or yesterday, or whenever you took them, like, what's your process for photographing? Do you try to like use a station or a booth, or do you go out in nature? Like, what do you do?
Yeah, well, it depends because when I put something online, whether it's an auction or a piece available for sale, I have to think about how it's going to look in people's feeds. Will Instagram put it out there for people to see, or are they going to think it's something they won't want to see, so it won't come up in people's feeds? So I'll try and pepper in a lot of nature photos, a lot of stuff with green, a lot of stuff with plants, but then I'll also try and do some nice, photo box pictures. I try and do a little bit of both, as well as video. I like to put in a 360 video of usually every piece I make.
Nice. Do you do like on a turntable, or is the camera set up for the 360?
Usually I'm just real lazy about it and spin it around in my hand. You know why? Is because I spent some money on a Lazy Susan earlier this year, and it was a piece of shit. I returned it. And I asked Ryan Fitt about his Lazy Susan, and he says he's been looking for a good one for years. He can't seem to find a good one. So I just decided I'm not going to really invest too much in something like that. I'll just be low budget about it for now.
Yeah, yeah. The one I had gotten was from Bed Bath and Beyond. It was like a wood one, and it had like the ball bearing, so it moved real easily. And it's at my ex's house now, but I'd use like their $25 off coupon gimmick that you can get. I think I paid like $25 for it or something like that. But it's nice because it's really really wide. So you can,
oh great,
you can put like a cloth on it or some shit, type of thing, and you can spin it, and not have your hand in the picture. Like I have like one of those little solar power display spinner gimmicks, type of thing. And I was trying to use it today for my piece, but it's like only if it's too heavy, because this thing's like solar power, and I don't have it. Even like the battery compartment for it, I don't know if it's broken. It doesn't work. So I'm trying to get this thing to spin, and it just didn't want to spin for my video today. It's annoying as shit. And I was I was gonna go outside and take pictures, and it's raining today, so it's like, okay, I had to take some shit pictures, but whatever.
The same thing happened with me. No sunshine today. Otherwise, I definitely would have posted an outside photo. But I just decided to send over some photo box photos of my piece so people can vote on that.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I'm actually curious to see how this whole voting thing goes. I noticed, I don't know if you noticed, but the Tournament of Fire, they had two different variations of their posting of the and the one that they had a longer underscore, was like tournament, and then like a long underscore of, and then the short underscore of fire. And their normal page that we're on all the time, they're both of the underscores are the same width. So I don't know if they're going to use that other one for just the voting page. I don't know. It's weird.
Oh, right. Okay. So I didn't even notice there were two different ones.
Yeah, because I clicked on it and it says like, user not found, no post yet. So I don't know.
Huh.
Kind of curious.
Well, I suppose we'll see when they put it up, huh?
Yeah. We will. And this is going to go out next week, so this will go out mid second round, I guess. So,
Oh, right on. Well, I mean, fingers crossed one or both of us will still be in it at that point.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, man, that being said, if you don't go past this round, are you going to stay in the group and chit-chat and stuff, or are you just going to move on?
Yeah, I mean, definitely I still feel like there's a lot to be gained from it as long until I pretty much get kicked out or the the tournament ends for this round. But no, I think there's a lot to learn and a lot of more relationships I can build, especially with these sponsors. I haven't really talked to many of them yet, so
Yeah,
I
same
think
here.
if I can reach out, talk to them, see what kind of relationship I can establish. That's what it's all about, is that networking, whether it's just a quick little hello. That way, when you're at an event or anything like that, which you should be going to, if you're a glass artist, you should be going to events, whether they're, see, I myself haven't made it to the big ones like Champs or Age, but I go to little local shows as much as I can, particularly out in Long Beach at the Functional Art Gallery. There was a Roots show that Bishop put on with Jason Burris and a few other artists, and that gallery has put on a few shows since, and every single time I'll get out there and go to the show, and I'll mingle with people that are in the industry, and they'll know my face, they'll get to know me, and it's just so important to make those little connections so that down the road people know you.
Yeah, man, it's so important because like back when I was first doing this, like a year into it, I would go to like the local art shows, and we had like maybe 3 of us in the area that were making pipes. I mean, maybe in Florida alone, there maybe been 6 or 7 of us back, that were making pipes. So
Wow,
it was
can't
hard.
imagine.
I know, right? Tell me about it. Well, just to put things in perspective, when I first signed on to glasspipes.org, I was one of the first 20 people to join it. And was in like the
holy shit,
and was like one in like the top. I was in like the top 5 of the 100 artists for on and off for like the first year and a half, and then I got lost in the weeds.
Yep, and stuff started booming, didn't it?
Yeah, totally. Yeah, because that initially started once the whole Operation Pipe Dreams kicked in, and that became like a protest of like, this is a gallery, this isn't a place to sell your work. Fuck you, the government type bullshit.
Yeah.
And then look at it now. It's pretty cool stuff. But yeah, man, when I first started getting out there, I would go to all these glass events or art shows in general and go seek out the glass artists that were there, and I'd shake my hand, introduce myself to them. I mean, I introduced myself to the same 4 people probably 20 times over 10 years, and until they got to know
you'll have to do that.
Yeah. But it was funny because most of them were all furnace workers, so they still had this stigma against lamp workers of a male class in my 20s, as they assume I'm a pipe maker, and obviously I was, but I was also making pendants and jewelry and stuff at the time too.
Yeah.
And I didn't come out saying I was a piper, but they kind of like turned their nose up at me at first for like probably a couple of years,
Yeah, man, that was a real odd thing for me to learn about when I got into it, because it was already past that. But learning that the the furnace workers had a really negative stigma toward the pipe makers was interesting for me. It was interesting. So learning, like for instance, when Paco and Slinger went and dressed up in their suits and threw down at where was it, Corning? No, it was back in. They had it in the Degenerate Art movie, but
yeah. I don't know if that was a DFO or one of those things that did that.
Well, no, it was I can't remember what it was for, but they entered the first pipe into that competition. It wasn't a pipe making competition, but they entered a pipe into it. So that was the beginning of it. You can look it up.
Y'all have to.
It's back when, because they wore really nice suits.
Yeah.
Glasses and stuff.
Yeah, I can totally see the picture in my head of those guys.
Yep. Yeah, Paco and Slinger throwing down behind the torches with their suits on. There's a picture out there floating around. And that's from that event.
Speaking of Paco, I think he's one of the most underrated, underappreciated artists in our industry. He's one of those cats that has just been so outside the box, bro. Like, his work is...
I don't think there's enough people out there that realize that Paco and Slinger are related.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, exactly.
That's crazy.
And they have totally different style work. Like they're totally their own people. You know, it's interesting.
Yeah, very cool to me.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. And that whole Northeast Philly group of cats up there, like, you know, they have their own awesome community. But there's been some incredible fucking artists that have come out of that community, or that are still
Yeah,
there.
blows me away. And I have a massive appreciation for especially the Philadelphia artists, but any of those East Coast artists, like, uh, they're the ones who bring the heat. You know, they're the ones who, when I look back, when I first think about what Glass started off as, like, amazing. Whoa, this. It was those artists over there on the East Coast, man. They
Mm-hmm.
were throwing down. They had their own community. It was like they were all developing their own techniques and kind of sharing their secrets with each other on a very personal level, and that's really incredible for me to learn about.
Yeah, and it seems too like that's where the whole finding your voice and a character of some sort really began. You know, like the West
Yep.
Coast was all about the tech. I mean, don't get me wrong, man. Like the West Coast was like that was the beginning of all of it for us. But like, you know, they were the pattern. You know, make a hammer bubbler, but like have some just incredible work, like Jason Lee's Wigwags, like, you know, all that stuff that was going into the work.
Right.
And then the Philly Cats and the cat, you know, that whole group, they started getting into more of the character style, sculptural, functional work, you know, type of stuff. And it definitely, you can tell personality wise too, just in terms of environment. It's a whole different type of scene. And I don't know if that's what influenced it or not, but, you know, it definitely seems in a sense like some of those cats up in the Northeast had a Glass educational background or some kind of art background, where the West Coast cats didn't necessarily have that. They were all just, you know, off the Dead tour, learning the glass pipes and really blowing the
Right.
fucking shit up, you know, just on their own. It's weird, you know, and I'm not just like throwing everybody into one ball here, but just in terms of a generalized spectrum of things, it was definitely
Exactly.
you
Yeah.
know.
Just to basically generalize it.
Yeah, and then we have us little select group of us in Florida that were like the redheaded stepchilds of the industry. You know, it
Yeah.
took
You
us,
said there were what, like maybe 7 of you in the whole state back then?
yeah, it seemed like it, you know, that were actual pipe makers. I mean, there might have been more,
Right.
but, you know, we didn't know each other at the time, and now there's probably fucking 400 of us. I mean, I really don't know numbers wise, but
Yeah. There's too many to count at this point.
yeah. But it's been fun, man, growing up in the industry here, because it's finally gotten to a point in Florida where the Florida glass collector can appreciate what's going on. The laws and rules here are just so fucking backwards, and a lot of the collectors, I mean, were like either North Florida or South Florida, and then Orlando started to blow up, and now it's just all over the damn place.
Yeah, and a lot of that has to do with people taking it as their responsibility to educate people,
Mhm.
educate and bring other people into the culture. So I think that's great when I see other artists out there that they're not just in it to blow some glass and sell their stuff and make their money. They also want to be part of the culture. They want to be involved. They want to go to events. They want to educate anyone they can. They're not trying to withhold information. I think that's a really big part of what this whole movement has become, is a lot of people finding other like-minded and kind-hearted people and not being afraid to just share ideas.
Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty amazing, man. And the giving back too now as well, which I think is awesome.
That is amazing.
Yeah.
Seeing the like what just went down with the Michigan project.
Yeah.
Them giving all that money to the arts for schools in Michigan that's incredible. You know, I wouldn't be where I am had I not had a music program in my school growing up paid for. So for them to think that process through and put an effort toward making money and giving back to that community, that's freaking awesome.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, and that being said, man, that's why I wanted to bring it up. Like, have you like thought about, you know, down the road, like what you could do in a sense, or, you know, take the
I
success of your
have
business?
a little bit, you know, just as much as I really can, only being in it for a couple years. Eventually, I'd like to, as far as making some sort of difference with my glass, I want to bring people into the culture more. I'd like to have some sort of place. You know, I'd call it a school, but maybe it's not a school. It's just a place where people can come and learn and be exposed to the craft, maybe for the very first time, but they don't have to worry about, you know, all the overhead that comes with that. They can just come in and pay for a class and learn about the culture, maybe make something or see something made. And eventually I'd like to be like an all-inclusive thing. There's flame working, there's cold shop, there's hot shop, there's furnace work, there's everything. And someone can come in and be exposed to the culture of the craft, and then they learn, wow, there's people here that don't have to go work flipping burgers, or they don't have to work in a cubicle, or they don't have to do something. They were able to take this craft and make money on it. Because there's a lot of different ways to make money with glass. You can make jewelry, you can make pipes, you can make all sorts of collectibles or keepsakes, anything you want. Or you can make more functional stuff like goblets or anything. So
Don't forget the dildos.
don't forget the dildos. Those were industry saver for some people back.
Oh, did it? It was for me.
So all that kind of stuff. I would like a place to be able to expose the general public to that craft.
Yeah.
So eventually, that's the goal I want to work toward, is to be able to work toward opening a place like that one day down the road, to where people can come in and get hands-on experience with it and feel it and maybe fall in love with it, and then go and take that, their own direction.
Hell yeah, man, that's killer. Fuck yeah, dude. Well, I think that's a good enough for us to take a quick break here and thank our sponsors, and then we'll come back and it'll be time for us to crash a kiln.
Hell yeah, I like it.
This segment of the Wise Guy Radio Show is brought to you by Zen Dude Fitness. Lose 10 pounds this month by joining the Zen Dude Fitness 4-week jump rope fat loss challenge. Brandon and Dan will take you on a guided journey towards becoming the best you. Get fit, have fun, and find new ways to eat healthy while still enjoying the sweeter side of life. Just takes 20 to 30 minutes a day and no gym required. For more info and to sign up for the free 4-week challenge, go to wiseguymedia.com/ZenDudeFitness. That's wiseguymedia.com/ZenDudeFitness. Awesome. All right, man, we're back. Quick break. So the Crash in the Kiln round consists of 7 questions. If you want to give me a 30 to 60-second answer for each question, and you can expound upon them as we always do. And the first question I always like to ask is, if there's any living glass artist you haven't worked with yet and you want to, who is it and why?
That's a difficult question. Only between 2 people. It would be between Bishop or Banjo.
Okay.
The reason for that is the same reason for both of them, is because they are very kind-hearted people with a lot of knowledge and a lot of humility to share. I feel like I can learn a lot, not just from their glass, but from how they choose to go through life. So I've just met those 2 people personally, spent some time with them, and absolutely feel like they're some artists that I look up to.
Yeah, it's good stuff. What are your top 5 favorite colors in glass?
Oh, right now it's hard to answer with all these new hot colors that are coming out, but I really like slime, old school, just classic slime. That's probably one of my favorites. I really like heavy blue stardust. I really like pomegranate. That's a great one to work with. You can layer that and all sorts of stuff. It's just a really stable color. One of my favorites to work with right now is peach, because it's beautiful and it's also really nice to work with. But my all-time favorite glass color since the beginning of time and until now is experimental green, because of the range you can achieve with it.
Hell yeah. Yeah, it's a fun color. I remember when it first came out, there were a couple batches that were like super sketch, like full check from top to bottom.
That was definitely. I heard about those.
Yeah.
I wasn't in it by then, but I heard about when experimental green first came out. It was definitely bad news for the first couple batches.
Yeah, it was interesting stuff. Yeah, but it's a fun color for sure.
Yeah, it'll still do it. You deeply encase that stuff, it can check on you.
Yeah, that's fucking for sure. So here's the question: what's your worst injury in the studio?
Oh, worst injury in the studio is definitely a 3rd-degree burn I got on my lower torso, my belly, pretty much. I was working on a pipe, and I was at the point where you're you want to shape your head. So I had the whole a good third portion of this molten, and I was ready to puff into it. And this was my first year being set up on my own, and it fell off my punty, and it was molten hot, and it fell off my punty right into my lap, and it hit my stomach and rolled down my leg, and it burned all my clothes, and it gave me just this huge 3rd-degree burn right on my stomach, and is about the size of a tennis ball.
Jesus.
As far as width goes, and so that was definitely the worst burn I ever got, but still not bad enough for a hospital visit.
Yeah, man, that sucks. Were you wearing a shirt?
I was burned right through that shirt.
Yeah, Jesus. Yeah,
it was
sucks.
glowing red. It had to have been at least 2,000 degrees.
Yeah, no fun, man. I had a marble one time. One of my friends who used to come over to my house and give me a massage. And my studio was out back I had like a 10 by 10 shed just for the shop, like a little barn style gimmick. And there was a huge oak tree in my neighbor's yard that covered it was like a perfect space. It was always in the shade, and whatever. And my friend that would give me massages, she'd come over and do it outside right there under the oak tree. And there was a day I would
nice.
Yeah, it was killer. Well, with one of the days we did a trade, so I was like, I made her a nice marble. And I mean, I'm talking like 1.5 inches probably, something like around there. And I was just wearing my board shorts. I was still all oiled up from the massage, and that fucking thing came off the punny as I was going to switch punnies to make it nice and round, and it rolled towards me, and not even thinking about it, I just quickly used my hip to bump it real quick to stop it, and it burnt me, but it also burnt me like a fucking grease fire because I was covered in massage oil. So it just like spread, dude. I had the most fucked up burn pattern on my side of my belly. I still got a pretty good scar from it.
That's horrible.
Yes.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, so if you ever get a massage, take a shower before going to the studio.
You learned that the hard way. I definitely want to think about that. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, man. And I hear a lot of people talk about lavender oil being really good for burns and helping take the pain out and helping your skin heal too from it. And I do recommend using it, but wait until that burn is cooled off.
That makes sense.
It'll do the same. I had the same thing, man. I'm like, I'm going to put some lavender on there real quick, and then it spread like a fucking grease fire. It hurt so bad.
That's horrible.
Because the core of those burns are what's really the hottest of all of it. It sucks.
Right. Yeah, I've had a graphite burn before, and those stay hot for a long time.
Oh, dude, I can't. I burn myself on my tools more than anything in the shop.
Yeah.
Whether it's my L-Marver or a bull push or some shit, It's crazy.
Yeah, nowadays I don't get really bad burns. I'll still burn myself, but it's quick and it doesn't, like, oh, that was hot. Okay, I'm fine.
Yeah, it still hurts every time though.
Yeah.
It's just the length of how long it hurts.
Yeah. Although I don't know if you noticed, when I'm in the kitchen or something like that, and I'm dealing with like under 300 degrees and I burn myself, I kind of chuckle. Like, oh, that wasn't that bad.
Dude, I grabbed the pan of brownies out of my oven one time, not even thinking about it with my bare hands. I just like reached in there and I was like, what the fuck am I doing?
Yeah.
Didn't even think about it. I put them on my stove and I'm looking at my hand. My hand's all burnt and I'm like, what a fucking dumbass. But I just being used to dealing with heat all the time. I don't know what I was thinking, but I haven't done that since. Maybe I was just, I don't know. Who knows?
Yeah. That's the first time I've heard that one.
Yeah, long day, I guess. So, so let's see. What, in the studio, do you watch TV, listen to the radio, or do you have both going? Not at the same time, but, alternating. Or maybe at the same time.
Yeah. In the studio, I use headphones because I share a shop space with my shopmate, and I don't want to force him to listen to stuff I listen to. So I'll use Bluetooth headphones, and I'll listen to usually a playlist I have on Spotify, or the Joe Rogan Experience podcast on Stitcher, or I'll put some show on the background in Netflix, and it's always playing on my phone while it's sitting on the charger. So
hell yeah.
Usually one of those three things is what I have going on while I'm working.
Nice. Hell yeah, man. Let's see. If you could describe the sound of glass cracking in one word, whether it's metaphorically speaking or an emotional response or literally what it sounds like, what would you call it? Or what word would you use?
Let's see.
Or statement.
One word? I think the first thing that comes to my mind is panic.
Okay.
When I hear that tink, I panic. But it's only for a second.
Yeah, that's
because
good.
I've gotten to the point where I've learned to fix shit. I haven't had something crack on me where I haven't been able to fix the crack in a long time.
Hell yeah. I've had to learn how to put it down into the kiln and just let it soak.
Yeah, see, as soon as I hear that tink, I get myself this really big, bushy, annealing flame, and I just put it at the back of that, and I'll just float it in that flame for 3 to 5 minutes, and then I'll start to go in and look where I need to repair it and start to go in on it. But
Yeah, I guess I do
as
the
soon as
same
I hear
thing.
tink, yeah,
Cause a lot of
panic, man.
oh
Panic.
yeah, man. Because a lot of it depends on also like how long it's been out of the flame or the kiln, and also where it's at too. So,
Yeah,
because you
a
definitely,
lot of it has to do with that.
yeah.
If I hear some of my like tubing prep crack, I'll usually just if I can work the crack out of it so it's not in there anymore. If
Mm.
it's just prep, I'll just let that shit crack and just heat the shit out of it. But if it's a piece that I'm almost done with and it just cracked, you have to finesse it.
Yeah, I
But
think
I've had pieces where I'm 90% of the way done and it'll crack, and I'll have to spend 30 minutes doing a repair on it, but it'll come out.
yeah, yeah. I think my worst, or actually my least favorite cracks, I should say, are little checks on down stems.
Yeah, it gives you so much work.
It's such a kick in the nuts.
Man, I don't think I've had that happen yet.
Yeah, it'll happen from either using cold tweezers or a quick check flash, kind of thing where you didn't really heat it up properly.
Yeah,
But usually it's from a cold tool, like if you go to put it in there with using a pair of tweezers or some shit. It's usually that.
that'll be your downfall. Anyone's downfall.
Yep, I learned the hard way. A lot of times I've actually kept a pair of tweezers on top of my kiln just to keep them warm. But even like if you have a finish tool with a pair of like the Kevlar wraps on a tongs kind of gimmick, those Kevlar wraps, just the room temperature can cause your glass to crack on you.
Yeah, you still need to preheat those before you touch your glass.
Yeah, yeah. Actually, I hang mine sometimes on the handle for my guillotine door for my kiln, so that way
Oh, that's a good idea.
and the heat just coming out of the kiln just kind of keeps them warm, in a sense.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't like using those tongs. They scare me. So just because I don't trust myself not to accidentally lose grip on the piece and they'll slip.
Hmm.
But I don't know if you've heard of them, the steelhead glass claw tools. I bought that, and that holds pretty much everything I ever make.
Hell yeah. Does it have like an angular kind of tooth to it per se?
Yeah, it's got like those. They kind of wrap around on the tip, so where they grab a rounded object or even anything with a rim.
Right.
And they open nice and wide, but then they also close really small. So I can finish carb caps with it, or I can finish huge tubes that have really big feet on them.
Nice. Hell yeah. Let's see. Do you have any glass blowing themed tattoos?
No, I don't. Not yet. Eventually I will, but I'm only 4 years into it. I need to give myself some more time before I ink myself up. And
Yeah.
that's just me personally, And it's not like I have anything against anyone who does it sooner. Just me, I'm not ready to ink myself with some glass blowing themed thing just yet.
Hell yeah. That's wise. For sure. And
But I'm definitely a piper for my whole life. So eventually I'll get a tattoo of it. We'll
Hell
see
yeah.
where it is.
Hell yeah. Hashtag Piper Life or something. So the last question I always like to ask is, what are your top 5 favorite tools to use besides your torch and glasses?
Well, yeah, obviously, torch and the glasses. My tools that I use, I literally have a pair of 10-inch tweezers, a pair of reverse tweezers, which are that's my favorite tool to use because I open all my glass with it. Pop a little hole and then use my reverse tweezers to flare it open. And then my mini torch, my Smith Little with my blast shield torch tip on it. That's my go-to for a lot of stuff. I have a custom blast shield tool that I had them make me. It's basically a 3.5-inch long graphite cone that starts at an inch and tapers down to a point. And I use that for everything, whether it's flaring or rounding out something, or I use it as a reamer. I use it as a lot of stuff. So
Rad. And it's like,
that's
and that's attached right to your shield. or your marver?
No, that's on a handle. That's on a
Oh, okay.
8-inch wood handle.
Okay.
And then I think that's 4 tools, right? So my last tool would definitely these. It's actually a new tool I just got that I'm using the shit out of, which are the miniature claw tools, the small ones. The regular claw tools, you can score and snap big tubes up to like, I think it's like 65 millimeters. Well, the claw tools, they also make a small one where you can score and snap anywhere from 2 to 26 millimeters.
Hell yeah.
And I use that so many times a day, because where I used to, I'll have a blow tube sitting on the table and I want to open up the end of it. I used to either have to use my flame to open it, or usually just my flame, but I have to get it hot and pop a hole and open it. Well, this with the claw tool, I can literally just score right at the end and just spin it with it wet, and it'll pop off a perfect opening for me to just use a blow tube.
Yeah, I use that thing 100,000 times a day.
It's my new favorite tool.
Yeah. There's a speaking of opening blowpipes, Dustin Revere did a video a couple of years ago, and I don't know if you've seen it or not. I know a lot of people have.
The one where he folds over the end?
Yeah, and pops off the ends. Yeah.
Yeah, I used to do that. I'm just not good enough at doing it reliably. I'd pop off the end, and it would be really angled.
Mm-hmm.
It would be slanted. And I'd have to tear off some to make it even. Whereas with these claw tools, the whole reason I bought them is so that I could open my blow tubes really fast.
Yes,
and
yeah, exactly.
They're the shit. The best $45 I ever spent.
Does it have like a rubber grippy kind of gimmick in it too?
Yeah. So, I got them off a Lampwork Supply. You can get them off there, but they're basically a small version of the regular jaws.
Okay. Yeah.
I think I've been calling them claws this whole time. There's jaws.
Hey, it's okay.
Yeah, but they're a small version. They have a little like loop indentation where you rest your tube, and then a carbide scoring wheel that cuts your score for you.
Yeah. The pair that I have is just a basic pair of pliers that were converted into the same tool, basically. It's a cool.
Okay.
It's a cool
Yeah, I
setup.
think this is a newer version they came out with over like last year or something.
Yeah.
But I saw they were carrying them on Lampwork Supply, and then I just got tired of opening my blow tubes by heating it up and popping a hole. Or I would do the fold over thing too. It just still takes 10, 15 seconds to get it hot, and then fold it over and then break that off. Whereas with these jaw tools, it takes 2 seconds. You get your tube wet, spin it around, and it pops you off a perfect hole. So I can't speak highly enough about that tool.
Hell yeah. Yeah, man, that's killer. Thanks for sharing that for sure. And also, I mean, everything else we talked about. It's always fun talking to a new artist that's
absolutely
working their ass off and
have the conversation.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I'm glad you came on. Initially the idea was to bring everybody on from the tournament and do like a little montage-y kind of gimmick, and then whoever wanted to come on separately, kind of deal. And that didn't work out timing wise with everybody or whatever. Not everybody wants to talk on the radio, so.
Yeah. You said you didn't really get much feedback from people.
No, there's just two of you guys, you and Topher. That was it.
Interesting.
Yeah. So
a lot of people, especially in this tournament, that I've noticed, they're busy, man. They're super busy. I myself, I just was able to barely fit this in with my schedule. So it's a good thing, and it can be a bad thing.
Yeah, exactly. I know. Yeah, I'm already dreading second round, even though I'm hopefully going to get there.
Yeah, when I first entered this tournament, I pretty much resigned myself to being like, this is going to be fun, but I'm not making it past the first round. There's too many other talented artists in here. So for me, I'm content if I don't make it, and I'm really excited if I do make it. So either way, I'll be happy.
Yeah, it's just an honor to be in this thing for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. That's how I feel.
Hell yeah, man. Well, that being said, if you have any, before we let you go here, if you have any parting piece of advice, and then if you want to tell us where we can find you out there in the world of cyberspace.
Well, my biggest piece of advice is if you're just getting into glass, just slow down and work on your fundamentals. There's nothing that's going to help you more moving forward when you're 3 years down the road or 5 years down the road than having solid fundamentals. You don't want to have to worry about pulling a stringer when you're 3 years into it. Like, seriously, you don't. So that's my biggest piece of advice. Work on your fundamentals as a beginner artist. Just do shit over and over and over and over and over again. And if you're going to be in Dallas in November, come out to BoroCon. We're going to have it the 4th and the 5th of November. There's going to be lots of artists. Itai Ramil, Bishop's going to be out there. Those are the two that come to mind right now. But yeah, out in Dallas, go follow BoroCon on Instagram, and just come out, man. There's going to be a lot of people there. There's going to be a lot of cool people there. So if you travel for shows, travel to Dallas in November.
Fuck yeah. Yeah, I'll make sure there's a link in the show notes for that as well, for the Instagram page
Awesome.
and the website or whatever information about it for sure too. And then where can we find your ass out there?
I'm pretty much solely on Instagram. That's where I thrive. I enjoy the Instagram community, being able to post pictures and videos of my shit. So if you're ever looking for me, you can find me at Keepsake Glass on Instagram. It's all one word. I'm usually in there with my shopmate, Gearhead_Glass. He's also on Instagram. So that's where you can find me.
Hell yeah, real quick, where'd you get the Keepsake name from? I mean, I understand what it means, and that's killer.
Right. Yeah. No, to be honest, I had just set up shop on my own and was thinking about what I wanted to call myself. I was thinking about an Instagram name, and I wanted something that was marketable, that the brass tacks basic. My thought process was, what's going to sound cool enough to where stoners don't question it. They're like, wait, why is he like, they're like, okay, that's fine. But people that don't smoke, they're not going to question it either. They're not going to say, well, is this guy like a stoner or what's the deal? Like, so Keepsake Glass, it's kind of the best of both worlds. It doesn't have to be pipes, but it can be pipes.
That's smart, man. It's definitely got to be able to hit all facets of this community, because you can sell pipes all day, but it's also nice to be able to make some other things that you can sell.
Yeah, and market it under the same brand, so where
exactly.
It's not just solely pipes. That was basically where the name came from. And glass, you're making basically keepsakes, these little things that people are like, I like this, I enjoy this, it gives me a feeling to own this.
Yeah, it's smart, man. Good job. I'll dig it.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, not a problem, man. Yeah, so I hope you all enjoyed this episode with Mr. Patrick here, and go check him out on Instagram at Keepsake Glass for sure. And hope you're making lots of keepsakes out there, because people definitely like to enjoy collecting glass. And if you're not a glass blower and you're a collector, and you know what that's all about. So thanks again for tuning in to episode 172. I can't fucking believe it, dude. You'll be 172.
It's crazy, man.
Jesus.
You believe that?
Yeah,
oh my goodness.
Yeah, it's amazing. So yeah, and thanks everybody for listening, and yourself too, man, for spending hours of your time listening to the show. I appreciate you.
No, man, it's entertaining and informative, especially for glass artists like me. Just keep it up.
Hell yeah.
I want you to get to 500 and 1,000 before you know it.
Yeah, me too.
When
I was doing the 3 days a week. What's that? What was that?
I said I'm honored to have been on it.
Oh, hell yeah, man. Yeah, you're on a list of a lot of pretty incredible talent that's been on here. So yeah, welcome to the Wise Guy Club for sure.
Thanks, man. Be a little schoolgirl.
Awesome, man. Well, hang on for after this. I'll say goodbye off the air here.
Yeah.
Well, y'all take it easy, and until next time, we will talk to you on the next episode of the Wise Guy Radio Show. Have a good one. Stay hydrated. It's hot out there. Peace. This episode of the Wise Guy Radio Show is brought to you by Glassroots Art Show. Now entering its 9th year, Glassroots is designed for artists and distributors who wish to do wholesale business with shops and galleries. Located at the Monona Terrace Convention Center on beautiful Lake Monona in downtown Madison, Wisconsin, the art show features at least 25 glassworkers demonstrating and creating pieces for public viewing, live and silent auctions, raffles, and approximately 40 booths consisting of raw material supplies, functional and non-functional art, and glass charitable organizations. This year, in 2017, Glassroots will be held October 9th through the 11th, and for any more information, just go to glassrootsartshow.com. That's glassrootsartshow.com. This episode is also brought to you by The Flow Magazine. Since its inception, the focus of The Flow has been to provide a bond among members of the lampworking community. This has been accomplished by developing relationships with the finest artists and sharing their techniques with you through in-depth, step-by-step tutorials. In every issue, you can enjoy great content with the hottest artists and cutting-edge techniques using the latest industry products. These features, along with the continuation of our Women in Glass edition, Glasscraft Emerging Artist Awards, inspiring gallery showcases, dynamic general interest articles, as well as health and safety information, make The Flow the leading international lampworking journal. For more information or to subscribe to The Flow, go to theflowmagazine.com. That's theflowmagazine.com.